So I've extruded the other buildings, and the first step I do after I get these so I can see what the general elevations are, get some sense of what this whole thing is going to look like, is I roll them up onto the other side, and I want to add the foundation. And all I need to do to get the foundation started is draw a line and let SketchUp add the face that's there. And from here to there, and from here over here, and let's see, I don't need whatever that is, I don't need it. And so let's see what happens when I do that. There we go. Get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Probably get rid of that stuff too, and that as well. Don't need that. Don't need that. That's just, this is all just leftovers from extruding the walls. There's probably an interior wall somewhere in here that I'm getting rid of a construction line. And at this point, let's see, I don't know what that was. To go and look at that. At this point, this is on the ground, so I don't need to worry about that per se. I'm going to make each of these surfaces a component, and so I'll just do that. Type in the letter G to make a component, and I'll say foundation A. I may come back and give it a better name later on, but right now A, B, and C is good enough. Foundation C, I think, is what I marked it on the map. And this will be foundation B. And then having done that, I'm going to get into my texture library. The way you import textures, of course, is you have the materials window. You hit this plus sign over here. And then this icon here, just browse for material image. And at this point, I have a library of stuff that I use, and I'm going to grab one of my concrete textures, and let's see, will it be that one? No, I want something that looks a little grungier, I think. So that one. No, I want one that's kind of yellowed. There we go, that's the one I want. I'm going to dimension this to be about 8 feet. Copy its name up to the top. Okay. Now, these individual components. If I go and apply the texture and paint the component, you say, oh, everything is fine, isn't it? Well, no, it's not, because what happens is by painting the component, I'm painting all of the faces, and that includes the back faces, and the back faces will export into MSTS as polys. And so you almost never want to do that. And so you can see, having done it, you can see down when on foundation B, there's no, it's this default symbol. On foundation A, where I painted the component, it shows that it's been painted. That's very definitely something you don't want to do. So let's take that off. Now, what I do want to do is edit each component, and now I can paint the individual face, and that's what I want to do. And having painted that face, I'm going to extrude it out about 40 feet. And you think, well, you know, why 40? Well, I want to see what's there. And I look at this and you see, in this component, because it was created with endpoints touching it, it retained those endpoints. And when I extrude them, it carries the endpoints down and it creates polys. And you see how this matches up right here. You don't want that. So you want to get rid of any line that you see on this that isn't at a corner. And by extruding it out to something like 40 feet, it makes it much easier to see and fix. Okay. Now, I've got that done. You can see there are no endpoints anywhere on the bottom edge except where they belong at a corner. And at this point, I can push it back. I'm going to push it back about 36 feet. So this gives me a foundation for the building of 4 feet. And one of the things I've noticed in a huge number of models for MSTS and OpenRails is people don't bother putting a foundation on it. And sometimes the building is half buried in the ground, and sometimes it's floating. Well, this extra 4 feet takes care of that. I don't need the face that's on the bottom anymore. That's pointing towards the center of the earth, so I can delete that. And this is the face that's pointing up into the building. Essentially, it's the floor, the floor of the building. I don't need that because the building's going to be closed, and so I can get rid of that as well. And now there I've got a foundation put on this. I can adjust when I drop this model into the route. You know, if there's variations in terrain, that those variations can show up against these foundation. And it turns out if the terrain is substantially tilted or something like that, I may choose to raise or lower the building itself. So having done that, I basically just need to repeat the exercise on the other two, and I'm going to get started on that, and I'll finish and come back.